Yes, Fabian, I'm here with Hayley. She's a special care nursery midwife and she's an expert with newborns. Hayley, can you please elaborate on some of those newborn characteristics?
Yeah, thanks Chloe. So a sequence of 9 innate behaviours have been identified in the newborn directly following birth. And these include number 1, the birth cry, 2, relaxation, 3, awakening and opening of the eyes, 4, activity, so for example, looking up at mum and rooting. 5 is the second rest phase, 6, crawling towards the nipple, 7, touching the nipple and licking the nipple, 8, suckling at the breast, and then finally number 9, which is falling asleep. When the mother and the infant are allowed this essential time together, skin to skin, it predisposes them to develop synchronous interaction patterns.
So when would the midwife expect to see these behaviours, Hayley?
So you'd expect to see these behaviours following a complication-free birth, which facilitates immediate skin-to-skin contact and it's uninterrupted. Infants in one study were 8 times more likely to breastfeed spontaneously if they spent more than 50 minutes skin-to-skin contact with their mother immediately following birth.
So Hayley, you mentioned one of the newborn behaviours is crawling towards the nipple. How do they know where that is? Is that just by sight or are there other factors?
So research has actually shown that newborns respond to the presence of familiar chemical cues and that these cues play an important role in food-seeking behaviour. So during one interesting study, amniotic fluid was wiped onto one nipple and areola of the mother and the newborn was then placed between her breasts. So 23 out of the 30 newborns actually chose the amniotic treated breast over the naturally centred one.
So Hayley, you mentioned the importance of the olfactory sense for breastfeeding. I've also heard that at birth the most developed sensory pathway is the tactile sense. Can you add anything to that?
So during the fetus's 9th week of gestation, they begin to develop Merkel cells. These cells spread throughout a significant proportion of the buccal mucosa and have a proportionate neural coverage in the sensory cortex. These cells have a very interesting function when it comes to infant-mother attachment. Merkel cells are responsible for oral tactile recognition. It's proposed that the activation of Merkel cells in the baby's buccal mucosa in response to a tactile stimulus is the first step to oral recognition of the nipple and the milking area. This imprinting allows the infant to fixate to a stimulus feature, which, if the mother intends to breastfeed, is hopefully the mother's nipple. The Merkel cell complex receives the tactile information via mechanoreceptors, which then translate an encoded neural image to the baby's central nervous system. So, a bit like the wolves in Twilight, the baby imprints on its mother's breast. The buccal region of humans is comparable to the sensory human hand, which has a large area of the cerebral cortex devoted to facilitate imprinting through teat identification. All of this means that the message sent to the infant's brain following this connection causes a strong attachment between what the infant has placed in its mouth and the infant itself.